live. I just realized I forgot to close the door. I'll be right back. Alright, hi guys. Sorry about that. So this is my first time doing it live, so bear with me as I hopefully can figure everything out. So for those of you who might be joining, and I'm assuming I know most of you, but if you don't, I'm Catherine, and I recently started a new adventure as a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator for making handmade cards. And so I'm just trying to get out some new things and just going on an adventure. So this week I'm going to be doing a live every single day and showing you just some different tips and tricks for Valentine's Day cards. And so let me see, just kind of an outline for the week. I am planning to do, today we're going to do a basic stamps, ink, and paper card, which often you'll hear in our community, a SIP. So stamps, ink, and paper, very basic. You don't really need a lot of materials for this. And then I've kind of added my own spin, which is a sip of T. And T stands for templates, embellishments, and adhesives. And I'll be focusing on some of those different things throughout the week. So to get started, I must have misplaced the, oh, here it is. So this is the stamps, ink, and paper card that I wanted to work on tonight. And so we'll get started. I just wanted to kind of walk you through the process of how I would approach making a new card. So I already made this card, obviously, but I'll walk you through the process of kind of how I decided to make a card like that. So I recently got this paper from Stampin' Up! Called Mostly Adored. And it's designer series paper, and it is absolutely beautiful. So I'll show you some of the pieces we have here, and I'll be using some different pieces of it throughout this week. Okay. But I got this paper for free through Celebration, which is going on right now. We're about halfway through the sale. It ends February 29th, and if you spend $50 or more, you can get different free products. So it is really been great to take advantage of. So to get started, we are going to switch our camera down. So I'll move the camera down here. All right, and we are actually going to just start right into using our stamp, which is kind of retro woodblock. There are a lot better stamps out there, but I really love the pun on this one. It's You're Fin-tastic. So we are going to be stamping with Real Red. And so you just ink up your stamp and stamp it onto the paper. And then I like to clean my stamps off right away. So that's all stamped, and what we're going to do next is we are going to use some Stampin' Blends to color it in. So I'm going to start with, so this is Real Red, the same color that we just stamped with. They have a light color and a dark color, and then they also have one that matches the ink pad. So let's start with the light red, and it has two tips. One is kind of a fine point, and one that is kind of a little more brush-like, and that's the side that I like to use most of the time. And so you just kind of start to draw in, and it kind of bleeds itself out. It almost has like a watercolor effect. So we will do that top fin with that one, and this bottom one. And then I'm going to use the darker one for this tail, which is heart-shaped, which I think is just perfect for Valentine's Day. And then I wanted to do these little hearts. We're going to use Flirty Flamingo, and I'm going to use, actually I'm going to use the dark Flirty Flamingo. Fill in the hearts. And then I'm also going to use it for this side fin. Okay. And then to fill in the fish, I want to use pumpkin pie. So it's this pretty orange color. And I'm actually going to use the light pumpkin pie. And this one has a lot of space to fill in. So that might take us a moment. Because I don't know if I set this up properly. This is my first live. If there's anyone joining, if there's any way to make comments, I would love for comments or questions. And definitely add in where you're tuning in from. If I don't get to respond to you right away, I will try to respond to you later. And so this got a little bit bled into, so I'm going to take our real red with the fine point and just kind of go back over to give those eyelashes a little bit more pop. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this guy out. And you could use a paper trimmer or scissors. Probably should use a paper trimmer so it gets straighter lines. He'll just have a little more character because he's not perfectly straight. Okay, so now that I have my stamped fish done, the next thing I want to do is talk about how I came up to use these colors. So the paper that I have only has Flirty Flamingo and Real Red, and then the flip side is gold. So what I have is what's called a color coach. And I'll just pull it up here, and my ring light's going to reflect a little bit. This over here is Flirty Flamingo and Real Red, and they have different suggested color combinations. And so you'll notice Flirty Flamingo doesn't have any Real Red, and Real Red doesn't have any Flirty Flamingo. But I went to look and see what colors they have in common, and Flirty Flamingo had pumpkin pie, as did Real Red. So that's why I'm using Flirty Flamingo, Real Red, and pumpkin pie. And those colors, I think, turned out fantastic together. So, I've already made a card base. So you can cut out a piece of paper, colored cardstock or white, depending on what you want to use. And you cut it to 8.5 by 5.5, and then you score it at 4 1/4. And for those who are new to card making, scoring is basically, it just makes an indentation into the paper so that it makes it easier for you to have a nice straight fold. All right, so the next part that I want to talk about is how to figure out how to do a background. And so basically what I did was take the card base, and you want to subtract about 1/4 of an inch to get it to have just about 1/8 of an inch on all sides. So I'm going to grab my paper trimmer here, and we'll grab our piece of paper. And this paper is double-sided, so on the back it has some, my light kind of reflective on it, but it's some kind of roses in gold, which is beautiful. It's hard to decide which side of paper to use. So let's see, we're going to go to 5. So a little tip when you're trying to measure, I don't really like stopping to do math, so I will go to the card base is 5 1/2, and then I'll just slide it down 1/4 of an inch. So that would be right there. paper is already that size. So we're gonna go ahead and turn it, my card base, because we scored at 4 1/4. That's where we're gonna put our paper. And then slide it down 1/4 inch. Make our cut. And our piece of paper is ready to go. And then we'll go ahead and glue that down. So you can cut all the pieces out first, or you can glue as you go. I kind of do a combination of both. Since I already know how my layout's going to go, I'm going to go ahead and start adhering my paper down. If I was still trying to figure out what my layout, I wanted my layout to look like, I would probably wait to play around with it. Okay, so we've got that, and we've got our Fin-tastic, so we need to do our orange next. And so the way I would figure out kind of this orange piece is I would measure out how big my fish stamped image is, and then add either 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch, depending how much color you want to have popping out behind. So this guy is about 2 1/4 inches by about 2 inches. So we'll go, I want to do about 2 1/4. About 2 1/4, so that'd be, and then 2 1/2. Okay. And so you can kind of eyeball it and see, like, it has about 1/8 of an inch on all sides now. And I'm actually just going to scooch him over so we have a nice pop of orange behind him. And with Valentine's cards, I think it's really fun to use, obviously at Valentine's we use a lot of reds and pinks, but I think it's fun to use a little bit of other colors just to kind of change things up. So we're going to put down our Your Fin-tastic. Oops. Slides around. Perfect. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and glue this down. Now we're going to stamp some orange, some pumpkin pie onto pumpkin pie paper. So that's almost the exact same width, so I'm going to just go ahead and use that. And I have another retro block stamp, and I'm going to actually put a scrap piece of paper behind it, because my stamp actually has words that I don't want to use, so I'm only wanting to stamp part of the image onto this piece of paper. I just want it to say Happy Valentine's Day. So that's how we're going to do that. Let's go ahead and ink up the whole stamp. And then I just want to try to get the Happy Valentine's onto the paper if I can. And it looks like we just barely did it, so perfect. In the stamp. And then you can use a paper trimmer, or you can use your scissors to trim it. This one's a little bit bigger than that one, but I don't think it'll make much difference on this card. And so, like I said, this is a stamps and ink and paper card. So, if you wanted to make your card look a little fancier, you could use some dimensionals. They're basically foam stickers that kind of make things pop up a little bit, get some dimension to the card. But if you just have glue, that works perfectly fine too. All right, so we have the outside of our card all done. I like to make our cards on the inside really pretty too. So on this card, I did an orange background, and then I added some stamps. So we will go ahead and cut out those pieces. So again, the way you figure out the measurements is our card is 5.5 by 4 1/4, because we're just going from the score line. So we can go ahead and do some math there to, so let's take some pumpkin pie. So I said it was 5.5. So let's see. I need it to be 5 1/4, and that's actually what this paper already is. So perfect. And then we were 4 1/4, so we'll subtract 1/4 off, put it at 4 inches. Cut. And then stick that there. And we'll go ahead and cut our white piece. And so our orange piece, we want to go about 1/4 inch smaller than that. So we were at, let's see, we did 5 1/4. So we want to be probably 5 inches. And then we were at a little less than 4, and then go down 1/4. And now we could go ahead and adhere everything together first, but I like to stamp first in case we make any mistakes, because then we could just flip our piece of paper over and nobody would know that we made a mistake. So what we're planning to do is we're going to start with this corner. I have a block stamp that's going to give us our flirty flamingo background, and then we'll stamp these shells on top with real red. It'll have kind of a fun effect. Flirty flamingo. And I'm actually going to let that dry just a little bit before I stamp. And while I'm waiting, we can go ahead and stamp some hearts. So this is kind of more of the new modern stamps. They're clear blocks with photopolymer stamps that you can just stick on here. What I love about these is you can see exactly where you're placing your stamps. So we are going to start out with some pumpkin pie hearts up in the top corner. Do some flirty flamingo. And we're going to kind of angle them a little slightly different and slightly overlapping. And off our color. Dry. And we're going to grab some real red. Again, we're kind of going to change our angle a little bit, and we want to overlap just slightly. Actually, while I have real red out, we can go ahead and stamp our shells because that's probably dry enough. And what's tricky with the block stamps, like I said, it's not clear, so you can't see exactly where you're stamping, so kind of make your best guess sometimes. Okay, we actually got that one. I practiced earlier. Doesn't always work out so nice. Okay. And then our last bit before we start adhering everything together is I wanted to do one more set of hearts in pumpkin pie down here. Let's angle those guys right about there. Perfect. Alright, and there we go. Alright, so that's our finished card. You're fantastic, and happy Valentine's Day. Alright, so that's all I have for tonight. I hope you guys learned a little something, either some tips or tricks, or just felt inspired to make some of your own cards. Here, I can move this back down. And definitely let me know in the comments if you have any questions or things that you want to learn about making handmade cards. Thanks, bye.